Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to go ahead and work on the SC300 that you've seen in the background of some of the other videos. And we are going to start cleaning up the engine bay. As you can see here, it is a mess. Now this thing, it sat outside the shop for, I don't know, a year or two, something along those lines, and just got thrown into the weeds as I had other things to do and had no time or space for this, but now it's in here. The Del Sol is gone, so I can get to working on this thing. And there is quite a bit of work to do. You can see cobwebs, you can see all the dust and dirt and everything. And it is a bit of a disaster, but it's no matter. It's all just dirt and grime that needs to be taken off. And once we get it back to a clean state, then can work on getting this thing completed the rest of the way, so that way I can make some noise with it. And hopefully before too long, we can have two 2JZ cars running in the shop here, which is a very rare occurrence around these parts. So I think the first order of business for this thing will be to disassemble it, to go backwards in order to go forwards. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the hot side apart, pull the downpipe, the turbo, the manifold, all of that, and get to cleaning some of that stuff out of the car, as it's going to be a little bit easier to get into nooks and crannies when it is not packed into the engine bay. So I hate going backwards to go forwards, but it is necessary from time to time. This is one of those times. So let me go ahead, get some tools, get you guys set up on a tripod, and I can get to tearing all of this apart. I have the hot side for the SC300 blown apart. Didn't take all that long, and it really doesn't look like it'll take that much cleaning up to bring these parts back to their brand new luster. So we have the downpipe, and it's just move that stuff over there for now. But we have the downpipe, have both the dump tubes. We have a dog with a cardboard tube. What are you doing? Come here. Hi. And we have another dog. Come here, bud. Hi. What are you guys doing? Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, go ahead and fight over the tube. But as I was saying, we have the downpipe, we have both the dump tubes, and we have the header. And this header is pretty neat. Obviously there is a lot going on with it, and that's a whole lot of tube to fit in a small space here. But I built this out of 16 gauge tubing as opposed to schedule pipe like I normally build manifolds out of. And I do not recommend doing this for your cars, but I wanted to give it a shot with this since the turbo is so light. It's only a 67 millimeter, and figured I would try it out, see if it sounds any different, and if it breaks, then I know a welder fabricator that can fix it for me. But beyond all the tube components, we have over here our two Gen 4 Turbo Smart Hypergate 45 wastegates. I've had those for a long time for this car, and they work, and I don't feel like spending a bunch of money on this car, so I will reuse them. If the highly unlikely situation happens where they cause an issue, then I can upgrade to Gen 5s and everything will be cool. But beyond that, have our turbo. This is an On3 Performance 67mm turbo. It is their version essentially of a Precision 6766 with a, what is it, 96 AR V-band housing on it, so should spool very quickly. It's a ball bearing unit as well. It should work very well for the setup to make maybe 700 wheel or so when everything is said and done with it. But now that we have all of these parts off of the car, I can start seeing what I need to do to clean them up. And I did even find a couple of issues that I'm going to remedy before it goes back together. The number one issue of which are these gaskets. If you guys know anything about working on cars and turbo systems and everything, you know, these stupid little, I guess, perforated gaskets like this, they are good for one thing and one thing only, and that is blowing out. So I will swap those out for some nice OE Toyota MLS gaskets, and that will never cause me an issue there. But I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning some of these parts up. As you can see, they are just absolutely filthy, but even with my finger and a little bit of scrubbing, we can see that they are brought back to their nearly brand new luster. The only thing I won't be able to bring back like that is the head flange on the header. It's a mild steel flange, and you can see that it did rust up quite a bit, but I'll go ahead and I'm going to brush that off. And I think with this header, I am going to do my best to do a high temp coating with some VHT ceramic spray paint, part store high temp paint. I've had good luck using it on turbine housings before, so we'll give it a shot on this header and see if that works. So let me go ahead and get some cleaning tools, cleaning apparatus together, and we can start trying to clean these parts up. After a little bit of elbow grease to get some of the dirt off of these parts, we have clean tube parts or post-turbine tube parts. Well, I guess that isn't even correct to say. Post-turbine tube part, pre-turbine tube parts, and the biggest pre-turbine tube part of them all. So obviously the head flange is still a little bit crusty, but I can come in with a wire brush and scrub some of the rust off. And the more that I sit and think about this, and the more that I look at this header, I don't think that I want to slather a bunch of high temp paint on it. I would love to see it change color naturally, and once it's done with that color cycling, and provided that it doesn't fall apart, at that point I can make the decision if I want to pull it back off, have it coated, or leave it as is. So that leaves the rest of this crusty, nasty engine bay to get cleaned up. And you can see I have my work cut out for me. So rather than bore you guys with a bunch of time lapses, let's go ahead and do some YouTube magic, and there we go. It is quite a bit cleaner than it was. Still not perfect, but I definitely did not do a deep clean on this, more just a surface level clean, just to get the bulk of the grit and grime off of all the parts on the engine bay. So if I decide to later on, I can do a deep clean, disassemble it more, but for the time being, this is good enough. And it makes me a little bit happier to look at this now in this state, as opposed to looking like it was pulled up as an artifact from the Titanic. So Like I said, definitely not perfect. You can definitely still see some dirt and grime and everything. And I didn't get real deep into any of the corners, but there's no more leaves all on the cowl. There's no massive amounts of dirt anywhere on any of the major components. And most importantly, all of the hot parts are clean, which makes me very happy. So I think I am going to also go ahead and pull the hood liner out. As you can see, you had some friends that decided to make lunch out of it. So that thing is about done. And if I decide to, I can put another one on it. If not, it can roll without a hood liner. But I'll go ahead and get that ripped out. And that will be probably the last thing that we'll do in the engine bay of this thing today. But all right, let's go ahead and get that knocked out. Now we have the hood liner removed from the SC300. And when I pulled it out, there were a ton of rodent droppings in it. So I'm assuming they used it as a winter home for themselves. Which, sorry buddies, but you're not going to use this car as your den any longer. So still a few little bits here and there of fuzz that need to be removed from it. See if I can remove that piece from my hand. But all in all, the hood is actually in very good condition. There's no rust, no anything crazy. And I was able to remove all of these little clips as well as the hood seal without doing any damage to them. And obviously I could have just grabbed that and Hulk smashed it off of the hood there, but one thing I've learned as time has gone on, working on more and more projects, is patience is a virtue, and if you just take your time to do things like that, then you end up saving yourself work in the long run and saving yourself from having to buy the same parts over and over that you keep destroying. And obviously I may have learned that through experience rather than, or through practice rather than through theory. But I digress. We have the engine bay on the SC. Not perfectly clean, but certainly much cleaner than it was, at the beginning of this day. So now that we have all of that cleaning done, I think that will be probably about the end of this video. So we have, again, all of our tubes all cleaned, both the dump tubes, the downpipe, and our header, as well as all of the turbo and other hot parts components. They're all cleaned up and ready to be reinstalled on the SC300. And then we can proceed from there with hopefully wrapping this thing up in the not too distant future. It isn't terribly far off. I think I have to build maybe a brake line or two for it. I have StopTech little flex lines that go from the body to the calipers that I have to put on. And have a couple other odds and ends that I would like to wrap up with it. Obviously you can see some exposed wires there trying to convert the Supra's old TT engine harness to run on this GE setup using the distributor as the cam crank sensor. So hopefully the research that I had done and that wiring is all good. If it is, and if it tests well as we go to fire this thing up, then I can sheath those in some DR25 and call that a day. But with all that being said, it's going to be the end of this video. So until next time, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys then.